Welcome back. I'm attorney James Betzold, and I am the CEO of Prima.law. So immigration case management software designed for immigration attorneys and professionals everywhere. Now today we're going to take a deep dive into some of the latest large language models, these AI models that you can find online, because we want to use AI in our practice in order to get the work done more quickly, more efficiently, reduce errors, facilitate an easier review process when it's time for the attorney to do the final review, and that just makes everyone's life easier. So let's take a look at some of the models we'll be reviewing today. All right, that's me, of course, and like I said, I am the CEO of Prima Law, but I am also the owner of Betzold Law, or VisaFeliz.com. I am a practicing immigration attorney, so we use this in our firm. I am also co-founder of Bella Legal Assistance, which provides trained immigration paralegals to work in a law firm. Now, we use what we learn here and in these companies to help immigration attorneys throughout the country. All right, the models we're going to review. First of all, let's talk about Gemini. Now, Gemini, we're going to look at the latest version, 2.5 Pro. This is the large language model released by Google, and it has come a long way from the days of telling you to put glue in your pizza recipe so the cheese doesn't fall off, okay? It's amazing. We're also going to review Gemini, Google, which, is from Google. It's 2.5 Pro, but because we have Prima Law, we are able to add some modifications and tweak it so it works even better for immigration law and for things like case review. So we'll be reviewing that as well. We will look at ChatGPT, right? The OG ChatGPT. Except we're going to look at the latest version, 4.5 research version. So this is supposed to be the latest and greatest and best, and it can do all of these amazing things. We will see. We're also going to look at Grok. Now, there's been a lot of news, a lot of buzz in the media recently about Grok version 4. Now, again, this is released by xAI. So for our politically astute individuals, you might want to know that this is Elon Musk's AI model, and we'll review how that performs. Llama 3, this is the large language model put out by Meta, which is one of the open source solutions as well that maybe can be used. We'll take a look at that. And of course, Claude AI. Now, this is released by Anthropic, and the specific model we're going to be looking at is Opus 4. There's also DeepSeek. Now, you may remember a few months back, the whole economy almost went to shambles because this Chinese lab or this Chinese company, DeepSeek, said, oh, we've been able to train our model at a fraction of the cost of ChatGPT. And so all of a sudden people were doubting whether we needed all these GPUs or special hardware in order to train it, and whether it is possible to make these large language models at a fraction of the cost. Of course, that was a bit of a scam. But I figured since they were touting some of their abilities, we'll review them here as well. Now, the objective of this test is to uncover the strengths and weaknesses of the leading LLMs. We want to know which ones are going to be the best to use in your practice today. Now, we want to make sure that we can do that with minimal prompt engineering. So on older versions of AI like ChatGPT 3.5, you really needed to get specific and say, hey, pretend you're immigration attorney and I'm a client and I want to know this, what would you tell me? Okay, you don't really have to do that anymore. In fact, that could be counterproductive to getting good information. We also, we just want the model to know what we need and to give it to us. Okay, now there are some models that we're reviewing, which we've covered here. There are other models that exist as well. However, these are the main powerhouses in the world today, right? I know there's a lot of niche market tools or solutions out there trying to serve immigration attorneys, trying to serve different areas of law, things like that. However, when we look at it from a business standpoint, we say, what is a model I can use today? So if I go to the website and I pay the whatever it is per month they're charging, can I start using it today? Now, I've looked at some of the others and they want to do a demo with you. They only want to give you access after they get time with you. They only want to and the charges are pretty astronomical in comparison to what you can pay for a ChatGPT subscription or a Gemini subscription or the like. So we're using in this test the models that you can use today to start making your life better. So here's the tasks we're going to analyze. First of all, this test is based mostly on case review. Okay? And I see I've listed drafting basic documents here as well because we will ask it to do things like draft an attorney brief or things like that for some immigration cases. But essentially we want to know, can this AI model look at the whole case? Can it understand it and apply the law and understand the consistency of data throughout? We want to know how long is it going to take for the AI to do the case review, for it to comprehend all the data and to give us a report. We want to know, is it able to create a coherent timeline? We want to know if it can recognize the different roles that people play in the immigration case. Document classification, we want to know that it understands the exhibits or the documents or supporting documents it's looking at. Whether it can give good citations to page numbers in a PDF that we upload, and really be able to understand data consistency, right? Does the name on the birth certificate match the name on the forms? If it doesn't, is there a good reason? And we also want to know that it can really understand that and not throw false flags. When it comes to application of the law, we want to know what's the eligibility criteria comprehension, right? Does it know what you need to be in order to be admissible for an adjustment of status, as an example, right? Can it detect inadmissibility? Can it do an inadmissibility analysis, maybe a removability analysis? Is it aware of current changes in the law or recent things that may have shown up in the news or changes in policy? Maybe a new memo comes out from USCIS. Is it aware of that? We also want to know if it can actually do a priority date and visa bulletin check. And one thing I didn't list here is on something like an I-864, is it able to understand and say, yes, they make enough money based on the poverty guidelines. We're also looking at a risk for getting an RFE on the case. Is it able to say, hey, this is a little bit weak, this is not sufficient evidence, you're going to get an RFE, and we'll take a look at that. Does it know when there's a gap in the evidence? Is it aware of alternative strategies? And can it give an overall score of how well the case was prepared? All right, so cases to review. There's a number that can be reviewed. In this video, we're going to go over the first one here. That's an adjustment of status under 245I, so that's going to include an I-130, an I-485, an I-864, and I-45 Supplement A. And here's the prompts we're going to use, right? Now, you'll be able to download this prompt as well, but again, prompt engineering is mostly out of the window, so we can do what's called simple prompting, right? Now, in order to get a bigger response, we might want to engineer a little bit just to say, hey, make sure you give me these 4 or 5 things. We want to avoid it whenever possible. This helps us detect how much the AI model is actually comprehending this. And as you can see, I've written here, errors should stand out, right? That's a spelling error. Will it catch it? All right, so the general prompt for initial loading is going to be this. Please review this immigration application and check for data consistency, any errors, any eligibility issues. Make sure there have been no recent changes in the law or policy. Also analyze strength of the case and make any suggestions to make the case stronger. Provide a score of the case strength, high, medium, or low. Also create a report of the analysis and a plan for corrections with citations to pages in the PDF file. All right, let's move on to performance results. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the case that we fed to the AI. Now, we needed something that had errors in it. Okay, so this is not a reflection of the work we do at our firm. We actually took a case that we put together to mimic what a notary had done for a client, and then that client came to us and said, hey, we got an interview coming up. We're a little concerned. Can you take a look? And I took a look at it and I said, this is completely wrong. You're going to get denied, might get deported. So you need to hire us to fix this, right? So this is a case that's riddled with errors of different types, and we introduced some as well, right? So for example, I listed on the forms the place of birth as China when really it was Mexico, okay? And we changed the spelling of the name in a couple places on the forms to see if the AI would catch that as well. So we planted errors, and it was a poor quality case to begin with. So let's see how well these different models performed. And this type of case is an adjustment of status under 245I. First model, let's talk about Gemini. That's the Google 2.5 Pro. So Gemini 2.5 Pro, it's the model issued by Google. And how did it do? Well, eventually it refused. So the first few times we ran it through, it gave us some responses. And once we figured out what model what sample file we wanted to upload, We uploaded this one again, and it refused to do the job. Now, we're using the paid model, so it should have worked. But it didn't want to do it because I'm not qualified to provide legal advice or review sensitive legal documents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know ChatGPT had done this for a while, and different AI models would refuse to do it based on if they thought there was sensitive information in there. So it refused. So what I had to do for Gemini to accept it, and I tried it a day later, 2 days later, I tried refreshing, tried logging out, logging in, all the typical things you might try. None of that would work. It kept refusing, so I had to upload a different file for this one. And what I uploaded was an adjustment of status based on a fiancé visa entry to the US. And then it worked, and we did get a high quality result. Analysis of eligibility was performed automatically, so Gemini already knew that for a K-1 applicant, they need to get married within 90 days, right? 90-day fiancé. It calculated the dates based on the marriage certificate and confirmed that yes, the person was married within 90 days, so that eligibility was met. It reviewed the I-864 adjustment of status application, and it actually threw a red flag for us to review, saying, well, the sponsor filed as married filing jointly, and it showed somebody else's name as his spouse, so that's a huge issue. You're going to need to review that. So we review it, and it was the ex-spouse. It was a prior tax return, so it was fine. It did look at expired forms and let us know that, hey, technically this is expired, although it looks like USCIS is still accepting it. It did tell us that. And it did a review of the filing fees as well to make sure the payee was correct, and it also verified whether we need to submit an extra fee for the I-765 in this case. So it did a great job. So for that one, I would give it probably 4 stars overall. I think it did really well, except for that first critical error here with refusing to do what I told it to do. Now let's go to Gemini 2.5 Pro modified by Prima.Law. Okay, so we have in Prima.Law an immigration case management system where you assemble all of your forms, you assemble all your supplementary documents or supporting documents, put it into a package, and then you can click a button to initiate an AI case review using Google Gemini 2.5 Pro as the initial model, and then we've modified it to make sure it does the right thing and gives a nice analysis. And it accepted the job. And again, we're talking again about the case that had just a ton of errors because it was initially done by a notary, and we sort of rebuilt it and then had to fix it. It accepted the job. It completed the analysis in about 60 seconds. It was complete and thorough, and it did find the errors. And there were some very critical errors. For example, if you just look at the documents and the way that the forms are filled out, they actually indicate that this person was removed from the United States and then re-entered unlawfully, but now wants to adjust under 245I, which you cannot do, right? And it found that, and it said, hey, you've got a permanent bar issue error here, and it cited INA 212AC 29C, whatever that is. It cited the statute and everything saying, hey, this person's inadmissible, it's a critical error, it's probably not going to work, you need to fix this or find an alternate solution, and it suggested an alternate solution. But it was smart enough to point out, right, that you could file the I-212 to fix the error, but only after they're outside the United States for 10 years, right? So it had a very complete understanding of inadmissibility under the permanent bar. It found the errors that we planted, so it found the birthplace issue, the places where the name was misspelled. We did that intentionally to make sure it could find it. It did a great immigration analysis. So with this, we give it 5 stars across all categories because it did the job, and I mean, it knew the page numbers, it knew everything we needed to do a thorough review and then to double check it quickly, right? So every time it throws a red flag or said, hey, there's an issue with this, it'll say, look on page 25. And it'll actually say, look on page 25, section this, question 5A. Right? So it can get very specific, so it really understands well. And one of the reasons, again, we went with Gemini inside of Prima.Law is because it has the largest, what they call a context window. So you can upload a document to it and it can handle big documents. It can handle a lot of text in those documents, understand it, and keep it all in context. So it has a huge context window, far surpasses. I mean, it's millions of tokens of context window, which surpasses the other AI models. So again, that was a reason we decided to go with Gemini as well. More context gives it a better understanding on how everything works. ChatGPT, right? The OG, the original gangsta, ChatGPT. The model we tested was 4.5 research. Of course, ChatGPT is the model released by OpenAI. And how did we do? Well, it accepted the job. Analysis was complete in about 90 seconds, but the analysis was incomplete. The immigration analysis was simply generic. Oh, yeah, they've got potentially inadmissible because of a removal and then entering, but just file a I-212 and that should fix it. Okay, that's incomplete because it won't work and it's wrong. So a lot of the issues that we would originally have when GPT 3.5 came out and we had to do all that prompt engineering to ask it specifically this and specifically that, it hasn't completely overcome that in the context of immigration law. So it has an incomplete understanding. It doesn't have a context window big enough to review the entire file, and so that is an issue. We gave it few stars across all categories. The next model reviewed was Grok. So that's released by xAI, that is Elon Musk's AI model. The latest version is version 4, and how did it perform? Well, it accepted the job. It completed the analysis in about 60 seconds, but there were multiple false signals, multiple. Like in immigration law, Grok is no good. It would raise issues and say, oh, there's a spelling error here or spelling error there. In fact, I think I have another slide on it. Oh, and it failed to find the planted errors as well. It did a correct analysis of the permanent bar, but it didn't give a good analysis on the answer to how to fix it, okay? It gave many false errors based on what is called OCR. So the Grok AI model will take that PDF and it does optical character recognition. That's to recognize the text and everything. The problem with it is it looks like Grok is using a version of optical character recognition or a text recognition that's low resolution. And so when you get a low resolution, it's like if you squint your eyes and you blur it and you look at the screen, you're going to read words wrong. And that's exactly what Grok AI, Grok 4 did. And it would tell us, OCR was hard on this, there's this error, but it might be because of OCR. So it at least identified that for us. But it's not ready for business use, not at all. So we're going to give it few to 0 stars because why would you waste your time with something that doesn't work right? Okay, Llama 3. Now this is the AI model. It is an open source AI model published by Meta or Facebook. It is currently in version 3. The one online is the one we use, but there is a critical error. You can't upload files to it. It simply says, well, give me all the text from the file and I'll look at it. But that's not practical to do, especially with documents like birth certificates and things like that if you want to know if the documents are complete or have clipped edges. So 0 stars for Llama 3. Now, there's probably some level of AI review you could do if you built a custom tool that would handle uploading documents, but that is not the focus of our analysis today. So it's a complete fail for Llama in this instance. We hope to see better things in the future. Now, Claude. Claude AI has become one of the more popular AI models as well. It's released by Anthropic, and the current version is named Opus 4. So a lot of these AI models are going on their 4th major version. And how did it do? Well, it accepted the job. It performed the analysis in about 2 minutes. So it took a lot longer than Gemini did in order to analyze all the documents and the data. And what it would do is it would start giving its analysis before it was all completely done. So it would generate that analysis text somewhat slowly. So we waited for it to be done. Now, unfortunately, there were multiple failures. It caught some of the basic errors like the China birthplace, but it missed other basic errors like the spelling of the name. So unfortunately, we couldn't give a lot of stars on that one. The immigration analysis was a complete fail. It missed the permanent bar inadmissibility. Okay, yeah, no, it missed the birthplace of China. It caught some of the name misspelling, so I had reversed that. It did catch that there could be issues with form expirations, and it did catch that there was no medical exam included in the application. Overall, it's insufficient to use because it underreported the errors by far. So you had some models like XAI that over-reported errors because it couldn't see clearly. It needs better glasses on its OCR tool. And then Claude under-reported by far. And so the whole reason to use an AI is to catch as many errors as possible. So that's going to be insufficient, right? So it missed the date of birth, it missed address inconsistency, it missed inadmissibility about the, regarding the permanent bar, and the analysis overall was pretty brief. So it did not give a thorough analysis. All right, last one, we sort of did this one for fun. DeepSeek, how does it work? Well, there's no security or privacy guarantee. Okay, so we used another fake case in the review process for this, not to put our own clients' data in danger. But with DeepSeek, you literally go online and it's an AI and anyone can use it and you don't even have to pay. Okay, so with that, that's a problem. And I recommend you don't do that because we all know that China, the government, and their own enforcement or their police state has access to anything that a Chinese company does. So you don't want to provide information on a Chinese person who's requesting asylum in the United States and upload their whole information packet to DeepSeek because that will put them in danger. They could end up getting secretly arrested by the Chinese police in the United States. Yes, we've heard that happen. But essentially, he couldn't even read the whole file. So, couldn't really do anything. It was a major fail anyway. There were many major errors missed, many false errors raised, complete failure on immigration law analysis because it was saying you can just file a 212 and a 601 to fix the permanent bar, which you cannot do. That is bad information. So for all those reasons, don't use it. And turns out all that hype and fear in the stock market when a lot of the AI companies lost a major portion of their value was not justified because this model is garbage, complete garbage. In summary, let's go to the results. Gemini eventually refused after multiple requests, then did it. Again, that's just the generally paid version Gemini, part of Google Workspace. Gemini with Prima Law did not refuse, and it works great, even with larger files. That was the other major point we needed to point out in the Gemini with Prima Law section is Gemini, there's a limit to how big the file can be when you upload it directly to Gemini. And when you're using it via the API, there's also a limit. However, our engineers are pretty amazing. And so what they've been able to do is create stuff on our back end, which will allow you to upload even enormous files, right? We're talking 500 megabytes or larger. You can upload when normally a limit might be 50 or 100 megabytes. Okay, so that's important. Additionally, with Prima on the back end, when we generate these packages, we're using some really good compression so that we can stay within those file size limits. So Gemini with Prima Law, that's the clear winner in this analysis because ChatGPT missed essential errors, flubbed the analysis. Grok introduced many new false errors based on its low quality OCR. Remember, its vision is blurry. Llama 3 can't even upload files. Claude 4 missed inconsistencies and errors, both the ones that we planted and that the notary had introduced. Didn't understand how to resolve immigration law issues, and DeepSeek was just a complete failure. So overall, we're going to give the win to Gemini 2.5 Pro with Prima.law's modifications on the back end. So highly recommend that. And I can tell you that in our firm, we have been using this for a couple of months now, and it's really, really improved our accuracy. It can find errors that even errors we might not think to look for, right? Because it has such a big context window and it can do all of this stuff so quickly. So I highly recommend for you to check us out. Our website is www.prima.law. We do offer a 15-day free trial. We offer complimentary training and setup, so there's no setup fee for your firm. We have a full suite of tools, including smart interviews, right? So as you answer the questions, it's modifying what it's asking you to make sure the questions it asks are relevant. It doesn't want to ask you the same question 2 times. If you already have data for that person, it's going to pre-populate the questionnaire as well, so they don't have to enter their data multiple times. We have over 144 different case type templates, so that's checklists and task lists to accomplish in order to complete the case. What else do we have? We have a client portal. We have integrated e-payments now, which includes surcharging. So depending on your jurisdiction, most states allow this now, When a client pays you with a credit card and the credit card company charges you 2.9 or 3%, you can now pass that on directly to the client, so you're not taking a hit on that at all. That's thanks to our new payments partner, Confido. What else do we have? Boy, we have everything. We have a case management board. So imagine a smart table. It looks kind of like Monday.com. It's got different tags and different texts and links and stuff you can put in there, so you can filter all your cases quickly, see which cases need attention, see which ones are waiting on the government, which ones are waiting on the firm, which ones are waiting on the attorney, and you can address those ones quickly. So your case manager at your firm is going to be able to stay on top of all the cases and nothing will fall through the cracks. We have integrated text messaging. We have integrated email now, right? So if you have an Outlook or Gmail account, email comes in from your client, it's going to go directly to their case in contact. So you can keep an accurate record of all those communications. We have billing, we have trust accounting, we have invoicing, we have a really easy way to make payment plans, and so many other features that make your life so much easier. We even have a leads feature, so you can put a form or send a link to a client and they can fill out their information, and that will go into your leads database inside of Prima Law. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, easy to use, and very affordable. Again, free 15-day trial at prima.law. Reach out to us. We'd love to help you enhance your practice. I'm attorney James Betzold, and I use all of these tools that I've talked about today. We're very happy with them, and they make our life much, much easier. All right, thanks for watching, and have a great day.